Welcome, guys, to On Target Talks, episode 8. Today's a very special one because just like last week, we had two guests, the owners of Extreme, and this week we have Fry, the Airsoft ambassador. I'm James. I'm your general manager here from Extreme Airsoft.
I'm
Des.
Des, as always, and I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hey guys, my name is David Fry. Just to clarify, I'm actually not associated with C3. So I am the Airsoft ambassador was given to me a few years ago by a guy named Bob Marco, who owns Building 52 in Chicopee, Massachusetts. And I think that kind of encapsulates like what I'm all about. And I naturally kind of ran with it. So actually, I had that term before C3 was even a thing. And so I'm glad that I have this, I have this opportunity to be here to clarify that. Well, it's a minor point, but more so, thank you both so much for inviting me down. And
we're glad to have you.
Chatting about BB Wars and all the good stuff and state of affairs and then some upcoming events and whatnot. So thank you for having me here and thank you for watching.
Yeah, and today we're going to spend about the first half talking about, building about Airsoft community as a whole. It kind of ties into next week when we have our Airsoft Expo.
Yep.
On the 26th, which we'll talk about.
Actually, this is actually 2 weeks. Well, technically next week, but
he's being picky here. But like I said, kind of building community, because that's what Fry is a lot about, as well as us, is really making sure Airsoft's community as a whole is great and moving forward. But and then we're going to move on after that. I know a lot of you guys, a lot of us are going to Patriot up in Massachusetts, and what looks like it's going to be 2 feet of snow on Saturday.
Oh man, it'll be a nice testament to the original Patriot, which actually was playing in 2 feet of snow.
Oh, God.
So that was my first Milsim game.
I'm not looking forward to the snow.
That was it was an exciting time.
the ice too. I can't tell you how many times people almost ate it and they're like blah blah blah, blah just skate stuff.
I've got this excellent video of this guy. So I'm on point and we're creeping up through the woods. I know we're already talking about tangent.
It's all tangent.
But we're creeping up.
Talk about tangent.
We're creeping through the woods, right? I'm on point. I have my GoPro recording. This time it's not in my basement. Making pew noises, and so I hear BB saws going off, I hear gunfire in the distance, and so I'm walking towards it, and there's this one area, it's kind of like an outdoor kind of loading dock kind of thing where it has a roof over it, but it was still all ice. So I walk up. And I just peeked my head over because the wall was pretty tall. I peeked my head over, and the guy sees me. He turns around and he starts sprinting, and he loses his footing and he falls on the back of his head. Thank God he had a helmet.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting here. I'm like, should I say something? And so then his buddy
just shoot him.
Yeah, right. So I just shoot him. Yeah, but then his buddy sees him and starts running towards him, and his buddy falls over and slips on the ice.
God.
At that point, they had to get a field medic out there because both of them hit their heads.
That's
so
painful.
Wear helmets.
Yeah.
If you're going to Patriot.
One more minor tangent. The reason I don't like snow, I think the last event I played in the snow was at RPC 4 or 5 years ago, and it was in almost waist deep snow. And moving around the field took the entire day to get from one side of the field to the other. And what pissed me off is this girl, Kylie. I don't know if she plays anymore. Do you remember Kylie? Really short, blonde.
Wench was her call sign.
Exactly.
Yeah, I forget her last name. But
yes,
yeah.
But she weighed so little that she would just run across the top of the snow as we're all trudging through it. And I was just like, I hate you.
Yeah. Same with my little brother Michael. I called him what are you, Legolas? And he's just running on top of the snow. And then of course 300 plus pound me is
chunk to sink.
Chunk.
Yeah.
Chunk.
God, but that's why I hate snow. But moving on, like I said, that'll be the second half of this podcast. First, we're going to talk about the expo, as always, because it's our next big upcoming thing. That's on the 26th, so almost just a little less than 2 weeks away from today. And as always, is like today's topic of community, it's just a big community building event. We have people all the way from New York, Connecticut, Mass, New Hampshire, Vermont. We had a couple of people from Maine last year, Pennsylvania. All over the place come down. They set up booths for teams and for shops, and the more people here, the merrier. And
it's a great time.
It's always a good time. I know we talk about it every week, but it's something that's worth coming to. It really is.
It's something worth talking about. Yeah.
It's
going to be a good time.
Kind of like a mini SHOT Show for New England.
Yeah, exactly.
It's basically it, minus the real skill stuff.
Right. We're trying to make it's an Airsoft SHOT Show, and it's gotten bigger every year. Gordon has done an amazing job putting everything together every year, and we hope it just gets better and better. Yeah. But moving on to today's topic, one of today's topics, I should say. I'll let you talk about what you do for like the community and what your big big points are.
Sure. Well, I'm all about community because I think community is a verb, right? It's something that we do. It's an action, and then it's a daily kind of commitment versus some kind of lofty goal. Because it's easy for that term to get thrown around. Community. What does that mean? Mm-hmm. And so I've been playing Airsoft since about 2006, and so that means I just hit 11 years.
Yeah, longer than I have. Yeah,
probably like $45,000 later. Only easily. And then after a few years, when I became more involved in the community by making connections in between fields, between teams, always being, whenever I show up to an event, I don't just hang up by my car with my buddies. I'm walking around, I'm shaking hands. That's something just I naturally do because I'm very extroverted as a person. Mm-hmm. And so then, but then I started becoming a little bit more involved on the business side of things, on the community building and event running side of things. So I worked for the Citadel for a little bit, which was the indoor field in Worcester. That was a college job. I left there. A few weeks later, the business then relocated, and I wasn't involved after that point. Right. But I was there for about a year, and it was a lot of fun. I've also been on a few different teams that are well known throughout the country, and we'd go to John Liu games primarily, or Lion Claws games. So naturally, I just kind of morphed into like someone a lot of people knew, and a lot of people would recognize at events and stuff like that. So I thought like, okay, how can I leverage this kind of status I have to bring positivity, to organizations, and I've been able to leverage that pretty well. And so. It's not commercialized. It's not monetized. I'll occasionally make a few $100 by running an event, like a special event. Yeah, exactly. But that's it. Like I'm not on YouTube. I don't have ad revenue.
Right,
like
I don't make it your job.
Like I'm a big boy. Like I have a big boy job, right? On the professional side of me, I'm a talent acquisition guy. So I'm a recruiter. Mm-hmm. I help people find jobs and help companies find the right talent for their positions. So I mean, I guess that's the elevator speech about me. I'm really grateful for you guys for the invite to come here and hang out with you guys and just talk turkey. So
yeah, of course. And speaking of communities, I've been like we've talked. I've been playing Airsoft for about like 9 years or so, and I've definitely seen a big change in the community between when no one knew about Airsoft and now it's it's talked about everywhere. What do you think? Like, what is your opinion or what you've seen change over the years?
Well, there's the there's the mini generations, the mini waves of players, right? When I started playing, we were just playing outdoor and whatnot. Then when I started playing an RPC regularly, which was my first, home field for me, right? And then I started playing on the national level. So like I got to play with people at Pine Plains in upstate New York back when we had that AO. We might be able to go back there in the future at some point, right? But there was the sequester and a lot of other stuff in between. But it is what it is. It does. So like a lot of the players that I met then are no longer playing Airsoft. Some are, right? Yeah. And then you see a new wave of players, and then another new wave of players. So and then of course, like let's say that new wave of players after a few years, they think like, oh well, we've been here a long time. It's like, well, you have, but then there are other people to look up to that have been around for longer. Like actually, the first like non-backyard Airsoft game I ever went to, Cobalt was there.
Okay. Yep.
So I'm walking around in the parking lot, and I've got my Sima AK and my MOPC and like this karate shorts for camo, right? Or no, not shorts, like karate white pants.
Full nude kit though, right?
Right, full nude kit. And this is probably 2007 or so.
Yep.
And I go up to him and I'm like, oh, because like I think he like had introduced himself like to me briefly, and I said like, oh my goodness, and I'm looking all around like, that guy has a saw, that guy has night vision, that guy has grenades, like I'm totally gonna die, they're gonna shoot me, like total noob status. And he said something pretty profound. He's like, stop right there. Like, your gun shoots a BB, my gun shoots a BB. Most of the crap that we're wearing doesn't really matter. We're here to have fun. Run with me for the rest of the day. And I was like, okay. and that was really impactful for me. And I'm glad that I'm able to call Gordon a good friend of mine.
It's a perfect example
over
of
the
like
years.
how people can make the community better.
Yeah.
Actions like that are so important.
Right. And I understand little kids running around can be annoying at times, right?
But make them not annoying.
Like, make them not annoying by like putting them under your wing and saying, oh, you know what? Instead of having that Molly flop around everywhere, how about you eat it properly, right? And then
you put plates in your plate carrier.
It's the biggest frustration. You see kids run around the field and they're just
and so the biggest thing is you have to be approachable.
Yeah,
you have to be approachable, right? And I think that sometimes that's just kind of a personality trait that certain people have and other people do not. So if you're not a crazy outgoing interpersonal kind of guy, at least don't be a jerk.
Yeah.
And just kind of be quiet and to yourself. So at least you're not providing any type of negative energy, but not necessarily any positive energy. You're just kind of neutral.
Yeah.
Right. And then let other people that are super good at talking with kids or whomever kind of take the lead on that. So I'm all about positivity, in general. So.
Right, exactly.
Positivity. I have a quick question. Do you want to dance for Jim? For APOC?
APOC.
He's demanding that he sees you dance. Also, Nate House says, hello, Fry.
Well, I guess I'll get up a little bit. Oh, okay. And you just wanted to see my girly curvish figure, didn't you? All right, I'll just dance a little bit. I'll touch my butt. I'm down like this.
Oh man.
Oh, Jesse says I look fly aft. Thanks, Jesse.
Oh yeah. Can't wait to run recon for you again, APOC, for Spring Offensive coming up.
Yeah. I'm excited for that too.
Yeah, right?
Day 2 of Spring Offensive, I'm going recon.
Man. Speaking of Nilsson, right?
Good time, yeah.
But
it'll be a good game.
Yeah, right?
Should be a good game.
It always is. It always is.
No snow is the best part about it.
Of course.
I remember there was one time it was Spring Offensive back in when it was at Feel Good Farms, and it was snowing at the peak and raining at the base.
Really?
Like there's actually a weather differential. I was like,
that's crazy.
What?
That's crazy.
This field is not that big.
I remember I hated that field just because of all the hiking that you had to do. Moose Mountain sometimes I'm not gonna go. I'm gonna stay down here.
I love the go to the
go get them, guys.
Go to the summit.
I got it here.
Oh wait, no, they're actually by the river.
Right, yeah. Oh, in fact, I got like a ghost objective on top of Moose Mountain once. And they they didn't realize that the objective is already completed. So when we get to the top, they're like, what do you mean it's not here? I don't want to do this anymore. So another big community thing that I've been I believe my work has been pretty impactful within is within the Massachusetts Airsoft bill that was introduced last year.
I was actually going to touch on that next.
Awesome. Well, I was able to partner with a lot of different people, and what was really cool is that there were definitely a lot of people that had media outlets and lots of connections that were public when talking about it, but there was no leader of the organization. It was just instantaneous organization, even between people, not mentioning names, that had beef with each other in the past. All of that stuff just kind of melted away when everyone realized, whoa, this is our passion, this is our industry, this is how I put food on the table.
Do you want to go into the bill a little bit for any of our viewers?
Sure. So first off, if you do not currently like the page, go to Save Mass Airsoft on Facebook. Just type in Save Mass Airsoft. Like the page. Fortunately, there's not a whole lot going on right now in terms of momentum behind it. But in the case that the gentleman that authored the bill does refile, that is the most centralized, accurate, and updated source of information that we have collectively in regards to the legality of airsoft in Massachusetts. So please go on that page right now, like it, and be sure that you're following it. So when you go to the options, hit C first, so that we don't, because our idea is that we didn't want to monetize it. Yes, there we go. So make sure that you follow it. Make sure you follow it by hitting under the settings C first, so that you automatically see any type of updates that come down. Because we actually broke the Facebook algorithm in about 2 days.
Really?
Yes. So Facebook, to an extent, has been very, it's been commercialized, it's been monetized. So you need to, at some point, there's a glass ceiling in terms of a plateau effect of what you can do as a business, as a page, whatever, before having to invest in that, which you guys understand.
Frustration.
Right.
Facebook is our favorite.
So within 2 days, we, because day one, 500 followers, day two, 1,700, followers. Now it's at about 2,000, right, in terms of a page.
So they finally caught you.
Right, and then we were getting like 2 or 3 extra per day. We're like, what's happening? And so we broke the algorithm. So it was really cool to see, again, a lot of people that had beef with each other in the past just kind of settle differences, and then just work really hard. And there were a lot of people that did some extremely amazing things that I would prefer not to go into, because again,
of course.
It's about the community as a whole. It's not about individual people.
So what was the details of the bill specifically?
So there were multiple versions of the bill. Originally the bill was very, the wording of the bill was so vague that a Nerf gun could be banned underneath this,
right?
Because it talked about a projectile, a replica firearm that shoots a projectile that's made out of wood, metal, or plastic. Okay, right. And then
rubber BBs.
Yeah, right. Good thing I got my foam gun.
The barrel had to be a solid material, so nothing could go out, right? There were a few exceptions, interstate commerce, right? Because that's a federal, federal issue, right? Interstate commerce was an exemption. Movie production or thematic stuff. So we thought, okay, we'll call Spring Offensive a big movie shoot.
Let's
Everybody come here.
But it almost did.
It is. Dan Man Airsoft Videos, like him.
Yeah, he's great.
He's awesome.
He is.
He puts amazing stuff out for you don't have to pay for it.
Yeah,
he's awesome for that.
So it was the purpose of the bill was to avoid confrontation between police and kids with guns.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah.
Which I can respect.
Absolutely. And that's the biggest thing that, fortunately the community came together with. We're like, look, the intended outcome of this piece of legislation, we agree with.
Right.
We do not want people to get shot by cops unnecessarily. Right.
Of course.
So I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but and a few people got super angry and wanted to kind of storm the state house, and and we had to kind of influence a few folks to say, look, we understand that we're angry,
but keep the maturity level high.
That's not going to win us anything.
Right, exactly.
Right?
Yeah, because then you'll get a bad. I'm not going to name any organizations, but you've seen it in the news before. When their instant response is to just create protest, block highways. Or something like that. That's if you saw Airsofters doing that, I can guarantee you it wouldn't have gone
of course.
well.
Well, I don't think we would.
Nonetheless, the point is valid.
Yeah.
But on that same token, actually, I want your opinion on this. Is we see in different countries, is obviously Airsoft's approach very differently.
Mm-hmm.
Out, and especially if you can almost consider California a different country at this point.
Yes.
But but it has the bright color strips and all that kind of stuff required. Right. I've seen proposed legislation that never seems to make it very far. That I kind of agree with. I'm curious your opinion. Is what it is this is how it is in much of the UK, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong here, but is if you're under 16, you have to have a brightly colored gun. Is if you neon body gun, all that kind of stuff. Over 16, you can either continue to use a neon colored gun, or you simply file for what's basically a permit. It costs $10, and it simply says, I have an airsoft gun.
So there's a registry.
Right, but that way you're not just buying a gun for your kid kind of thing.
Sure.
Is you're responsible, and then at that point the guns can look as realistic as you want. I kind of somewhat like the idea of that because it keeps the very realistic guns out of the 10-year-old's hands.
Sure.
Obviously it has its own problems, but
sounds a little complicated.
it
Personally,
make it work.
Well, I think it eventually would turn into another layer of bureaucry.
And that's the
right.
problem. I agree with you.
And then also, it's so easy to think about rules, right? Rules for this,
but
rules
no
for
one
that.
follows rules around here.
It's all about culture.
Yeah.
It's all about culture, right? And I believe that, not that I liked him for everything, but I think Ronald Reagan made a lot of sense when he said that all real change in America starts at the dinner table, right?
Yeah.
If there's a kid on the street running around with a replica firearm, pointing it at cops or tipping off a convenience
Also doesn't
store
matter what it looks
or
like.
whatever it might be, the
Point
cop's
at a
not going
cop.
to care if it has orange
Exactly.
on it, right?
Exactly.
But two, I feel bad for the kid because there's not a strong enough influence of reason in their life to say, this isn't cool, you shouldn't be doing this, this is very wrong. Right. So I think that I think that instead of looking at it from a rules perspective, we got to start talking about culture. We got to start talking about values, which are the things that I'm all about, because I think that will create much more impactful change than little rules here and there. And especially as a business, we're very influential in that because we can talk about, hey, we have a culture of safety. Hey, we have a culture of respect for law enforcement and public services. And a big rule that I'm sure you guys have is the gun bag rule. When you're walking to the parking lot and walking back, nothing should be visibly
It's either in the box you got it or in your own bag.
Absolutely. And then to the people that still walk out, I'm like, hey, you know what? You got a sweatshirt, just put it over, at least that. It's not. Next time buy a gun bag. You can get $20 options.
I was gonna say that we have $20 gun bags.
Right. You don't have to get a Palco case or whatever. But
exactly.
Actually, I have a question from one of our viewers who's actually on the house team, right? Con Reapers. Scott C asked, "What are your thoughts on dual limits on the topic of safety?"
I mean, I'm not as much of a technical guy. I'll admit that, from the start.
Yeah.
I'm not a technician when it comes to my guns. All I do is I go to Jeff Barry at Master Hobbies and say, "Make my gun amazing. Make work, please." That's all I do. That's all I do. Again, it's a culture thing because I know that in certain areas of the UK and other places, they just wear shooter glasses. They don't wear any lower face protection. They run 500, FPS guns with a .25, right? Whatever you want to do is cool. One quick shout out to a really cool field that has varying different FPS limits is Balahawk Airsoft in Virginia. What they do is on the tip of the barrel. That's when they put a colored tape around it as a chrono tag, right? Okay. Guns at 4 and everything's with 0.2 gram BBs. Anything lower than 400 doesn't have a minimum engagement distance. 400 to 425 has a 15-foot engagement distance and whatever. So it gives some flexibility.
Sure I like that, but I can appreciate what they're doing.
Right, and fortunately they like most people followed those rules so that you don't have a DMR shooting someone super close.
Right.
And if it does, they dealt with it appropriately. But I think whatever you have for your field and whatever your players want to do that for you.
Right.
And then it also there's a lot of insurance stipulations about what is and is not allowed. And it's my understanding that that the industry standard is pretty much the same.
Yeah, it's about 350, 400.
Yeah.
Right. So do what works for you, and try experimenting. And if your field wants to do something underneath, especially indoors, come on, we don't need 400 FPS with a 2.5 or whatever indoors. Or full auto, that's just up.
Right, but actually on that same token, one of my favorite things about this community, and mostly the New England area, is the standard has kind of developed where, for example, the NIAS sniper cert. There's no reason any field has to follow that. but almost every field does.
Sure.
And that's what I love about this community.
Right.
I completely agree with the sniper cert thing as it is. I don't think, a 10, 12-year-old kid should have a 500 FPS gun. The chances of them being reasonable and responsible with it are low.
Right. Well, just because I remember when I was 13 and 14 and made
you want
decisions,
the highest FPS gun in the world.
Right,
exactly.
Because they thought that it meant range and accuracy, which it doesn't, obviously.
But yeah, and that's one of the, like I said, that's what's great about the community, in my opinion, in the Northeast is we kind of have these.
It self-regulates.
These self-regulating things.
Yeah.
Another point I want to talk on, returning back to the whole bills and all that kind of stuff, is it used to be, obviously, the Airsoft community was very, I want to say quiet, is kind of like, it was like this backwoods thing, and
Sure.
Not in the public eye.
Right.
It was very far removed from the public eye.
Yep.
And I think a lot of people still have that kind of like, be as far out of the public eye as possible. The issue being is with Airsoft becoming more and more popular.
It's commercialized.
It's much more commercialized. So
Yeah.
what do you think's better in that? Try and stay out of the public eye, or control what the public eye sees by being a little more of a outgoing community?
Because it's become so commercialized in the last few years, which it is what it is. If people can make money doing it, awesome. You have to naturally change with those times. Right. So I think that if it's in the public eye, it should be framed in a way that is very positive and not damaging. Pushing, this is great for veterans, this is great for the public service community, EMS folks and firefighter folks and whatnot, because it's that adrenaline rush. And so as long as it can be framed appropriately, because whether we like it or not, it is in the public eye now. So,
right. So that's what I'm saying is,
we can't complain about how it is. We have to just react to how the world's changing.
Right. I would say more along the lines of, in my opinion, I think people should be a little more willing to be in the public eye. Because right now, what ends up happening is the only things that get out there tend to be the bad things. The things that make news.
Yeah, fair enough. Right.
So we've had a few news agencies come through Extreme and write stories and all that kind of stuff. And,
when I was working up at Stronghold Ops for a little bit, we got a few calls regarding the bill too, saying how is this going to affect your business and whatnot. So naturally that happens, and you just have to respond gracefully.
Right, and that's what I was saying. Is especially to the stores out there being. Being involved in the community and not trying to shy away from, we have a great relationship with the police department.
Oh yeah. At the Citadel, when I was there, we had Worcester PD come in with all their cadets. It's about 200 cadets or so. I came in on my day off, and I forgot that was the day, and I'm walking around. I'm like, where are all these cops? And then I take some of the instructors on a little tour of the field upstairs, and they're walking around. They're like, all these recruits are so screwed.
Oh yeah, cops love doing. Every time cops come here, they're just like, "This is an excellent facility."
Yeah,
it provides such an environment, and even when teams come to train here, for example, when my team trains here, Durka, or when Rycon trains here, it's just such a great spot to train. But also touching upon the great community thing is we're very lucky to have Danielle on our staff, who's a very predominant member in our local community, and she's done excellent things to help kind of keep Airsoft in a good light, especially in this area where this is Southern Rhode Island, so everyone the second that there's a gun, moms are like,
right. Oh my goodness! The same thing up in Massachusetts. Yeah. Same thing up in Massachusetts. Right. Down south, different world.
Oh yeah.
Completely different game.
When you look at SS Airsoft down there, and every kid in a 10-mile radius plays Airsoft. So.
Right. And so I would, how should I phrase this? I understand that a lot of airsofters that do play are more on the conservative end of the political spectrum, but in my opinion, what I would stress to people is that when talking about airsoft in the public eye, especially when it comes to legislation and all this kind of stuff, take that out of it as best you can.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly.
And that's coming from a constitutional libertarian free market guy, right? Yeah. That I don't really talk about very often because we're not going to change people's opinions.
Yeah.
You know, it's just kind of a detail that doesn't necessarily need to be there.
Right.
And so, but fortunately, when it comes to the bill, when we talked about the community being very self-regulatory and it was amazing to see again, like, you know, the tensions between a lot of different groups of people and businesses kind of die away. But then we saw an amazing response from people within the veteran community, you know, the Airsoft community, coming together to contact their representatives. So we talked to a few, you know, state house and then state reps, and to ask them, you know, hey, you know, what's going on out there? What's the status of this bill? We had multiple different, you know, contacts in very different areas. We had a lot of eyes and ears. And so someone, not going to mention who, someone actually got to talk to a bunch of reps and tally up how many communications were made from like businesses, players, vets. It was about 5,000.
That's incredible.
Wow.
It was about 5,000,
Very
right?
awesome.
And a few of these reps, like, you know, they'll call up the call up the guy from Dorchester that, you know, that crafted the bill, and they said, like, look, yeah, you know, I'm anti-gun just as much as you, but I have 300 voicemails in my inbox, and my my office admin can't even keep up with this stuff. You're gonna, you know. And I think that the guy was a little bit embarrassed because he didn't know. He just thought, okay, oh, Walmart, big box store, right? Or just saying like, oh, you know what, Dick's Sporting Goods, big box stores, they carry airsoft guns. It's not going to kill their business, whatever. He didn't know that there were small niche businesses and medium-sized businesses like you guys that feed their families, you know, with this kind of stuff. So, and eventually he came around to say, oh, okay, well, you know, the fields can stay. You can get special exemptions, or the gun has to be orange or whatever. So, like, you know, he backed off eventually. But then there was so much of a public outcry, stronger than a lot of other bills. Like, for example, like, you know, whether it's heroin or other, like, you know, big issues in Massachusetts, we actually made almost a larger splash than a lot of those other ones. And so, like, that's like, okay, I'm glad that you're passionate about airsoft.
BB guns from me.
Right. Like, well, I'm glad that we have our priorities straight. Cool, airsoft is life. But a lot of public sector people were shocked about the response of this bill, and we just have to,
it's awesome,
you know, how and then apparently this happened 2004, 2005 before I started playing. Not as much of there wasn't as much energy behind it, but there was a bill introduced.
Much smaller community then.
Right, exactly. In fact, we talk about how the community used to be not in the public eye. Massachusetts originally, in my opinion, was the kind of the pioneering area for milsim, because there was Tolcom, right?
Yeah, exactly.
First airsoft field in the United States, right? I mean, everybody knows that, right? But do you know why call signs were developed? This is really interesting. I found this out like last year.
I thought it was just like, I want to, you know, have my own cool name.
I thought that too. They used to use, so when like playing at Tolcon specifically, right? And I learned this again just like last year. People didn't use their real names. Because theoretically, what they were doing was like either gray area legal or something. So that's why they actually used call signs. Which was kind of incredible, you know, and I didn't find that out until like last year. I'm like, oh, okay, it's not just a cool name.
That's funny. I more you know, right?
Yeah, right.
But
very cool.
Any other questions before I move on to my next one?
Nothing really, no.
All right. So one thing that
I use Pantene.
One thing that I want to touch on is we've seen it a lot in our chat on various podcasts we've had before. Is there's definitely, over the last, 2 years, year and a half, with the whole speedsoft mentality, is you kind of have these two, the airsoft community is kind of split into these two different communities.
You've got your kids who just want to do like as hardcore, you know, like jumping from buildings as you can, and then, you know, you have the guys and the kids who just want to
side of things. But they've definitely both grown, and I feel like there's more and more of a schism growing, unfortunately. What's your opinion about all that?
I think that fields don't necessarily need to be mutually exclusive when it comes to those two areas. And then plus, there's like so many people in the middle that, in my opinion, from what I've seen, and again, this is based on my experience elsewhere at other fields. I don't regularly play here because I'm
Right.
up in Massachusetts,
No, yeah,
right? But like, I think that that divide overall, from what I've seen, again, limited exposure, is a little bit less polarized. But it's hard to quantify, right?
It's like
jeans,
yeah.
shirt. You're that category. But you go in
yeah.
that box. You go in that box. So like, I don't know how to answer that question. I
Fair
don't
enough.
know.
No, I mean, I agree with you. Me and James have discussed on previous talks is how when we play indoors, we're aggressive. We run around. We jump from building to building.
Sure.
We play like a speed softer does, but it's the attitude difference.
Whatever. Yeah, whatever.
But exactly, and I was just curious your opinion about it all because, like I said, we get a million questions and such about it.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Actually, I've got a question.
Yeah.
So this is gonna get a little down and dirty, but we've been talking about all the wonderful things about the Airsoft community. What are some things that you don't like about the community? Things, like let's talk about the negative parts of the community. I'm
Things
curious
like
to
to
your
see
opinion.
change. You know?
Okay.
Because you, for example, you said you went to John Liu games before. And I'm not trying to, open up old wounds or, bring up old drama, but, there was that whole thing between Milsim West and John Liu. And, just like, what are your opinions when it comes to, community drama like that?
I tend to not talk about the negative stuff as much, and this is why. I believe that when you're acting in a way that is not morally upright, isn't morally good, however, whatever you want to say, if it's not positivity, if you're all about negativity, eventually that's not going to work out for you. So boiled down, if someone's dancing on the edge of a cliff, I do not need to push them in.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, and instead of actively talking about the negatives of one business over another business, I'd prefer to just like vote with my dollars and vote with my time.
Okay.
Not to say that, not to say that I'll never go to a John Liu game again, or if I'll never try out Milsim West, doesn't really matter. And in terms of the national scene, what I've liked in the last year is going to American Milsim games. I like their attitude, cool, plug for them. But again, it's not, just because I like one organization doesn't necessarily mean that I dislike another.
Right.
So I can't. I can talk well in terms of the now local community, right? Mm-hmm. Some things that I don't like is I don't like the mentality that certain people have about towards younger players, because my thought is like regardless of whether
better than it was, but
it's
still pretty
they're
bad.
the future of the community.
Right,
Exactly.
and you cannot change that, right? So who and then also just think about who would you much rather play against.
Right.
Would you much rather play against kids that either don't want to call their hits because they think that it's not really important, or whatever it might be? So that's again why you start talking about values.
Yes.
And instill that kind of stuff versus talk about all the negativity.
Okay.
Let's see, a few other things is that when you're in all about it for yourself, people can smell that, right?
Definitely.
From a long ways off. And this kind of it's kind of dug into my being, but how I like to view the world is that if you treat other people, greater than, how you value yourself, if you're all about other people, then that will eventually come back around to you, not in a selfish way, but simply just like, that's just how it happens.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, if you can do something for somebody else, that will eventually, pass it forward, whatever it might be, eventually that will come back to you.
Yeah,
and I've seen that happen time and time again with different businesses, groups, players, doesn't really matter. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I was just curious because you always see these things like whenever they happen, it feels like it gets blown up for 5 days and then everyone kind of just forgets about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and there's a lot of old wounds, and then also like. And specifically when it comes to either like stolen valor or other veteran issues like that,
yeah.
I'm not qualified to talk about that stuff, right? Other people are, right? Other people that have served, other people that know how to do research, other people that know other people to say, hey, can you tab check this person? Like, there are other more qualified people to do that.
Right.
I would be talking out my butt if I wanted to talk about that stuff, right? And again, it goes back to if someone wants to be a shithead, eventually that will not get them anywhere. I don't need to push them over that cliff. They're going to fall in anyways,
I like
and
that.
it'll eventually happen, regardless of whether it's 1 year or 2 years. Eventually, that won't happen because again, people vote with their dollars, they vote with their time, and so eventually, the community will kind of not push you out, but stop going
that's
to
kind of self-regulating.
It is.
community.
It is.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
So again, it's one of the things I kind of like about this community overall in the Northeast. It's very, it's the
very
same thing.
tight-knit.
It's very tight knit, and
It is.
if you're that kid who's always causing, if you're not a kid or an adult even,
Right.
who's not calling hits or causing
Other
problems,
fields will find out about them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And we've gotten calls from other fields before, being
Yeah.
like, "Oh, hey, I heard this person's going your way." It'd be like, "Heads up," like.
Yeah, it's sad. It definitely happens.
Yes, but again, that's what's nice about this community. But yeah, I figured now would be a good time to move on to our second topic tonight. Again, I think all three of us are going to Patriot, correct?
Yep.
Right? I think we're actually all playing green.
Oh, we're all in green.
The Freedom Fighters.
Freedom Fighters. I would forget the name of the team.
Whatever, green versus tan, whatever.
That's all. That's
Yeah.
the funny thing about this community. It's green versus tan.
Yeah.
Always. And maybe a black,
Yeah,
black
well, unless
camo
you're
team.
at Emsato, it's all the colors of the spectrum versus tan.
Yeah.
Because everyone likes to roll tan,
Yeah,
apparently.
I saw. There's actually a picture of me on Facebook with my crew, like and the NAA guys and whatnot. And then in the side of the, on almost out of the frame is this kid wearing a blue fleece and pink camo pants. Like, okay, so yes.
Yes.
Well, I always joke I'd love to go to like one of these games. They have like a civilian dress side,
Right.
And literally just go there with like Hawaiian shirts.
Hey, bro,
and
how you
shorts,
doing?
and just like look
Yeah.
like absolute just.
Yeah.
Well, one time I wore my pajama pants to a Stag Ops game,
You
and I realized
you were out of regs.
yeah, I realized no one like called me out on it, but like I would always hear people be like, "Oh, well, sometimes we always have like that one person that'll wear pajamas," and I realized I'm like, that was me. Oh man,
They're referencing you.
Yeah.
So I'm on Stag Ops staff, and we have to go up and down the lines and do PC check or no PC. The PCI. Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
PCI check. To make sure that people are in regs. And I remember the year that you wore those. Someone said, like, dude, just let it fly. He'll be seen by a mile away. Which you knew, obviously. So. But yeah, that was
Oh
cool.
god, the PCI is it's sad. It's such a necessity.
Yeah.
But it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, just because, like, especially with camo patterns, just making sure the teams are fair.
Actually,
yeah.
On an unrelated note, I want your opinion because I know I have my own opinion about like ghillie suits. And right, that's my
Half
opinion.
half the time when I see ghillie suits, they're not actually sniping. They have like a rifle in their hand
Yeah.
and they're running around like, oh, there's a bush, bob, bob, bob.
So
bob.
yeah, and half the time I see ghillie suits, I go,
Is that a what?
I'm just gonna go the other way because they won't feel it if I shoot them.
Right. Right. So, to back off a little bit, purpose of sniping is not shooting people a long ways away in airsoft. It's recon.
Exactly.
That's what
I
it
agree
is.
with you.
Right. That's what it is. It's hard. It's hard to say from a staff, staff guy. I would say that as long as it's predominantly tan.
So that's what I wanted to hit.
Like
yeah.
that. I mean, I guess.
So
I mean,
that's-
I don't. I'm. That's above my pay grade when it comes to Stag Ops events.
I'm only bringing this up because there's a whole big discussion on one of the Facebook groups I belong to.
Right.
About the use of ghillies is because the hard part is like, and not calling people out, and again, it wasn't a rule, so they were following the rules perfectly.
Yeah.
Is like when you have a guy in tan, but he built a ghillie to suit the environment, and the environment is mostly
Right.
browns and greens.
Yeah.
But then you're on the green team, and you see this guy, and you're like,
Right.
I
I mean, I would say, I mean, if I just had to make a quick judgment call, I would say that if your ghillie suit is 80% tan, right, in terms of breakdown,
Yeah.
right, because obviously multicam, it's tan, it has a bunch of green in it, like, it's good to have a
exactly,
mix. As long as it's like 80% your faction's color, I'd say it flies.
Right.
But again, that is not an official ruling on
No,
anything.
of course, exactly. This
That's
is just
that's
just
Cobalt's
opinions.
that's Cobalt's decision, not mine, right? Just whatever.
Yeah, no, this is just opinions right
Sure,
now.
gotcha.
Because again, obviously there's been issues in the past. If it turns into a PCI, I go, okay, who has ghillies and what do they look like?
Yeah, what do they look like?
So when I see them on the field, I'm not friendly fire.
Well, I mean, if you're talking Stag Ops events, those people are pre-selected. They're all NESAG qualified.
I played recon for the last,
Right, there you go.
Several years.
So that means faction command, who takes an active interest in regulating the faction, whatever, would make sure that you're in compliance or whatever you want to call it. So
it's like I said, just want to bring that up because it's a topic I see widely discussed.
I'll never wear one.
Yeah,
that's all I know. I'll never wear one.
I'm in the same boat.
Right, fair enough.
I've always kind of wanted to wear one.
Yeah.
I've always thought it would be cool.
Well, I mean, I'd consider buying a leaf top.
That's about where I'm at, yeah.
But I've seen those both on the green team and the tan team. It's like, hey, wait, the ruling on this? What are we gonna? So it's more brown, but
right. So, and that's the reason I'll never wear a ghillie is I just don't want to be part of that. Like, he's just not feeling his hits, but I'm shooting him. I just don't want to deal with the drama.
Right. Sure. Fair enough.
So I just don't wear a ghillie to say, hey,
Yeah.
Because on the same token, I don't want to be in the situation where someone's shooting me and I just don't know. I want to know if I'm getting hit.
That's right. That's why I wear a plate carrier too versus a chest rig versus a plate carrier.
Right.
Yeah.
But again, returning to Patriot coming up, is what are some of the things that you do to prepare for a big Milsim game like this?
Throw stuff in the car Saturday morning.
Yeah, I'm real bad at doing that too.
Yeah,
for real though.
It used to be like a week before I'd have everything laid out, like for the.
And then you take it out and just, what's this? And where'd my Glock go? Here's some things that you can do that I've, some games, and it always depends on my schedule, right? Too, depending on how much time I have. But here's some proactive things. Get nerdy. Make an Excel spreadsheet of all of your equipment. Make an Excel spreadsheet, and then have a check, a double check, and a triple check, right? Because again, you get all your stuff like as you said, like a week before.
Yeah.
And then you're like going through it, and then night before you're like, wait, where did I put that? Shoot, and then you're making sure that everything's there.
Yeah.
So doing multiple layers of checks. Because look, it happens to everybody. I know a lot of prominent players on the national level that literally showed up to an event and they forgot their gun case, and they had to buy, a $500 VFC, nice, because they want a decent gun, at the event, right? So it can happen to anybody, and you have to have those multiple layers of check. It sucks. Or someone will forget their handgun, something like that.
Right. The number of times I see people show up to big events and they go, "Oh, my gun doesn't work."
Right.
It's like So I realize not everyone has the advantage of living 2 minutes away from the airsoft field, but do some kind of good weapon check prior to.
Well, to be fair, there is also, it happens a lot in airsoft. It's, well, it worked in my backyard, but then the second you get on that field, it stops working.
It knows.
Well, guns are finicky.
Yep.
Right.
Bipolar star.
I own one actually. So,
exactly.
So have multiple guns, have backup to a backup, have, because you never know. I ran a Sistema PCW for a while, and that broke day of, and I'm like, well, I'm glad I have 5 other guns.
That feeling.
So so build an Excel spreadsheet, or just however you organize yourself, whatever. Get yourself a really good carrying case, right, for all of your gear. You can go to Home Depot and get one of those big rollaway totes. They used to be $100, now they're like $40 or $50, right? It's lockable so that your shit doesn't get jacked.
I got one of those, and it's life changing.
Yeah. The only thing is you can't fly with it because whenever I go to an AMS game, I'm flying or I'm driving. Sure. So I gotta worry about space exactly. That's why I fly Southwest, because you get 2 bags. I'm not sponsored by them. So gun case and bag.
See, I'm sure you respect the tall guy problems with Southwest, as you fly the whole flight like this because there's just no leg room.
Yeah, and that's why I can't take a bus to an event either. Although buses, you're not supposed to have airsoft.
I was going to say, there's multiple problems there.
Amtrak apparently will let you bring their stuff.
Some people do trains.
Yeah, and I remember on one of the John Liu forums, like the Line Clause forums, some guy, it was a post from 2007 or 2008, someone had called Amtrak and said, "Hey, can you get me this in writing?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure, as long as it's unloaded, blah blah blah, locked." You know.
Yeah, I mean, people bring real guns on
Right.
trains like it.
Right, and well, then there's federal statutes that protect you traversing through multiple states
Right,
with firearms,
exactly.
regardless of what the local law is. Although, whenever you're driving down south, avoid New York City. New York City will
New
not
York City.
care.
Oh,
yeah.
You know your bail will be posted for like 20 grand, and you'll sit in a jail
Yep.
over while other people are playing over the weekend.
Yep.
Because they don't want to process you until Monday.
Right.
Like
Yeah,
New York City, do not mess with when it
Yeah.
comes to
I've
airsoft
heard horror
guns.
stories.
One of my
Terrible.
one of my buddies on a former team used to live in New York City, and he would carry his airsoft gun in a guitar case.
It's not a bad idea.
The issue is,
like,
if someone does stop you, you're going to look extra sketchy.
of course. But look, just if you were speeding, okay, I'll take the ticket. Right, you might as well take the ticket than
Don't try to
get.
argue.
Yeah.
Put up a fight.
I mean, on the same token, you do have the right to say you can't search my car.
Well, right, of course, unless they have probable cause. But this is New York; they don't
Yeah.
care. Just kidding. I don't know. So.
Yeah. But I mean, it's kind of like bringing a real, for example, like in Rhode Island, surprisingly, you can have a more AR style gun in Rhode Island than in Massachusetts.
Right.
But it's one of those things is like, don't stop, if you stop for dinners and stuff like that, it stops getting a little more risky, but you can stop for gas and no one cares and all
Right.
that stuff.
Yeah. Again, the federal statute protects. There are two things. One, sporting events. Right.
Yep.
It's a sporting event.
It
right.
is, yeah.
And then someone moving,
Yep.
and it applies to real firearms.
Right.
And in the case that like New York City, for example, considers an airsoft gun a real firearm, then that statute technically protects you.
Well, and that's the thing.
Right.
Is always treat your airsoft gun like it's
Right.
a real firearm.
Yeah.
Don't have it in
and-
your passenger seat.
And it goes back to the orange tip, the concept of orange tip, right? If a law enforcement officer sees your airsoft replica
Doesn't matter.
in the public eye, it is not his fault, it is your fault.
Exactly.
No matter what,
Exactly.
right? Again, doesn't have to be a fancy case. It could be covered by, something else. But they don't come out. They don't come out
Yep.
until you're at a designated area and you can transport it safely
Yep.
when people fancy.
Yep.
Yeah,
Completely agree.
absolutely.
Completely agree. It's funny 'cause we keep pulling so far off track the whole.
Whatever.
Bill says
We were
thing.
talking
But
about
it's
prepping.
fun.
We were talking about
Yeah,
prepping
exactly.
for events, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You got to get there. So.
Program your radios beforehand.
Yeah,
right?
that's what I got this guy for.
Just do
Yeah.
Do your research. Grab Chirp or some other type of
Yep,
programming
Chirp.
software, and maybe I got to pick your brain. Then I bought an 888. No, sorry, I have like one of the newer UV5Rs that has like a big like extended battery. It doesn't work with Chirp. Doesn't work with their software.
Is it the UV82 HP?
I think so.
Is it the A and B one? There's
Yeah.
the one where you can talk to two channels without actually having to physically change the channel.
I think
Pumpkin
so.
does that.
I
I,
think
love
so.
it.
So yes,
I love it.
you can use it on Chirp. After this, I'll show you what
Okay,
it is.
cool.
But
Thank
yeah,
you.
you have to tell it it's a different kind of radio.
Okay.
And then it's like, oh, okay, cool, dude.
Okay,
And it
okay,
works.
then it talks to each other. Okay,
Yeah,
all right,
yeah.
that's cool. That's cool.
Funny story about that kind of radios. My buddy Eric had one of the puck scenes where you can listen to two channels and transmit to one. And he was listening accidentally. He did this completely by accident. But he was listening to, this was at an Autumn Justice game, he was listening to Green and Tan command. He didn't even know. He was transmitting to Tan. So he kept transmitting things. I was like, Eric, I can't hear you. And he's like, it must not be working. He kept talking. And I looked at his radio. I was like, Eric.
What are you doing?
I mean, fortunately, we didn't say anything that was a big deal, and it was just confusing the Tan COs. But either way, it was just one of those moments like.
That's amazing.
So make sure you know the capabilities of radios
Right.
too.
Yeah.
Right. So how much water? This is a big one because so many people just get dehydrated.
Sure.
How much water do you bring with you to a Milsim event? You personally?
If you're drinking the day of, you're wrong, right? Like it doesn't really, like if you bring an adequate amount of water for a normal day, you should be fine.
Like I bring 2 gallons.
plenty of.
usually.
Okay, well, what I do is I grab a big case of water at Walmart the day before, and I throw a few in, and I'm always drinking. I don't know how to answer that question.
Fair
Sorry.
enough. Fair enough. No, it's fine.
So the biggest thing is like drinking before, and
Yes.
like an extra water before too, and then those for who are 21 and older, just have 2 beers, go to bed, go back to the hotel, hang out. versus like,
Okay.
I feel like shit, you know?
Yeah, partying the night before.
How
the
many,
game.
like, when
Yeah,
Feel Good used to be, when AJ used to be at Feel Good Farms, how many people on Sunday were just always hung over? Because
A lot.
everyone would get
A
drunk
lot.
Saturday.
So, yeah, I mean, it occasionally happens. Fortunately, I've seen less of it
Yes,
overall.
that's what I was saying. It's definitely gotten better.
You know, and then I think that's because there's a lot of younger players around, right? Like old school SO AJ at at Feel Good, not as many kids from what I remember.
Well, I think a lot of kids didn't, when you're like,
Play.
when you were like, your respawn's, 3/4 of a mile down this trail, they were like, no thanks.
No, fair enough.
Long Bridge respawn, that was
Yeah.
the most painful thing in the world.
Yeah, no. I went to a skirmish there a few, I think it was last summer, and after like assaulting the hill up to Moose Mountain, I was like, no, I don't want to go. I don't want to do this anymore. Like, no.
Yeah, no, it's true.
But very challenging environment, super cool. Love the field.
Yeah.
I'm just fat. That's all.
Fair enough. How much stuff do you, actually I'll hit all three of us with this one, how much stuff do you bring out to respawn with you? Like, not that you're on
To your CP.
to your CP, whatever, respawn, but if
To
you
your
want
cheese pizza.
I
Hunter will get that one.
Cheese pizza. I have a 3-day assault pack that I throw things in, and usually I can sustain myself the rest of the day by leaving that at the CP.
Okay.
Okay, so let's see. Won't bring an extra gun. Fortunately, I've had really good luck with
I'm the
guns
same
in the
boat,
last few years. Same gun. What I do is I bring a few extra mags, because at a big event you always lose one mag.
Yep.
Like you usually you always lose a mag.
I lost a
And-
PTW mag last Autumn Justice. That was $25.
What kills me is my magazines are discontinued. I have the original PTS Magpul mags.
Okay.
I have like 12 of those. Well, I
Yes.
had 12 of those.
Had.
Now I have 8 of those.
In fact,
Every
like,
event, I
if
lose
like
one.
if you like really are like low on money, just go to a skirmish and just find them on the ground.
Yeah.
just kidding. There's a lost and found, guys. Don't be that person. But so let's see. So a few extra mags. I'll bring with me. Water. Plenty of BBs, extra batteries for everything, right?
Yeah, of course.
Radio and whatnot. And some of these things are small enough you can just you can put in the rig and just forget about it. Because really,
A couple Tier 123s are going to fit anywhere.
right, exactly. Piece of paper, cell phone. Okay, first national game I went to, Pine Plains 5. I think it was Pine Plains 5. It was before the reboot of when it became Operation Black Sheep at Pine Plains. It was whatever.
Yeah.
I had 16 mags on me, and I went through all of them in about half an hour increments. And I wasn't hitting anything, right? And again,
I was gonna say,
I'm 18, like super excited, right?
yeah,
whatever. And then I realized over the years, I'm like, well, half this stuff that I'm bringing, like I don't need.
It's extraneous.
Even how in a lot of games you have to have a med kit on you, right? If I do, it's extremely basic because I'm going to trust the actual EMT in my squad to save my life versus like, what do I do? Like, so go minimalist. Go minimalist.
Right there with you. That is
because
what
like
I preach.
really, what do you need?
I know
What do you
has a
need?
Slightly different.
You
mentality.
need water.
like
You
I'm
need
pretty
BBs. You need batteries, and you need maybe a Cliff Bar or something like that.
Something's not
right?
done. Yeah.
And if that can't sustain you, and this is not Milsim West immersion.
Oh yeah.
we're talking
style stuff. We're talking,
Northeast,
1 or 2 day ops.
yeah.
If that kit can't sustain you, then you're probably running into a bigger problem.
Yeah.
Right, like you're hurt or your gun goes down or whatever, like that type of big stuff. So just try to be minimalist as best you can. Go chest rigs, yeah.
Yeah, right. So I mentioned this in a previous one, is I'm a big fan of the lightweight backpack and battle belt.
Battle belt, fair
Reason
enough.
being is since I always play recon, being able to lie down flat is huge. Where chest rig, you're like.
Yeah, fair enough. Or plates. I know a lot of people that will wear real plates.
Yeah.
Why?
No.
Why?
Bidding.
Why?
Sure, everyone on
Why,
Twitter right
though?
now is like, oh, what an asshole.
You want real plates? I didn't know. Sorry, I'm not calling.
I do not run real plates. Not yet.
I'm all set with real plates.
Yeah, no thanks.
I like skiff plates, but I'm all set with real plates.
Yeah.
Unless, like, okay, if you're going to have a whole bunch of weight on your back with, like, other stuff and maybe you want to balance the weight,
sure,
just having extra weight to have extra weight, no thanks.
Yeah,
No,
yeah, not for
okay.
me. Not for me.
It's like cool to put yourself under more stress and strain. It's like, really?
Yeah.
You're like, oh
Don't
yeah,
wanna talk about it.
like feel,
right.
feel my
Well, it's just-
figure.
Well, it's just like kitting up 6 hours before the game. Like,
Yeah, what?
I
Like
get
the
that.
kids are sweating bullets
Right.
and they're sitting in PCI. I'm like,
but I look cool. But I look cool. I understand at PCI you have to be battle ready, right?
Well, yeah.
But then it's like take your stuff off and
Hang on.
it's so many people think that airsoft and specifically milsim is a sprint. It's not. It's a marathon.
Right.
Yeah,
You have to pace
exactly.
yourself, right? The tortoise will win.
Yep.
Right. and a lot of people don't have that mentality, and that's okay. Do what you want. You will learn the hard way.
yeah. The Falcons did.
Yeah.
No, I definitely learned the hard way when I first started going to bigger games.
Everybody does.
Exactly.
Everybody does.
So, what about you, James? What do you bring to PCI, or not PCI, to CP and keep on you as like essential items?
So I've got my tote, so that's I'm
Kitchen
always
sink?
nominated. Yeah, so I'm always nominated as the guy, the pack mule. Like,
Good
all right,
reminder.
yeah, everyone puts all their stuff in. At one point, people are like, oh yeah, let's all throw our nods in there, and I'm like, let's not put like 20 grand worth of nods in
20
there.
grand.
Into that one thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, without I don't even have a lock, so
'Cause-
we usually will lock those in our cars.
Sorry to interrupt. Alex, one of the AMS staff guys, had his PBS 14 stolen at an AMS. It wasn't Reindeer Games. It
I
was
think I did
Faded
hear about
Giant. It was
this.
Faded Giant.
Yeah.
Within like 6 hours, there was a GoFundMe already with $3 grand in the account. So like
wow.
he's good.
Yeah.
But still, yeah. You specifically with nods, you gotta lock that up.
Oh yeah, no, like we always nominate. Like it's never in the same spot. Like if we even move them around, it's
Sure.
but so what we do is we bring tons of food. Like I'm a personal fan of SpaghettiOs with the
Dang,
the top.
son.
I fuck hard with SpaghettiOs. On my kit, I have one of those Pantec maps, so I got a little bit more space. And since I recently got the PTW, I don't have the tank on my back.
I'm sorry.
That's great. So many
Yeah.
stories about him getting this PTW.
Yeah, it showed up not working.
Because
That
you
was
never
great.
have one, you always have like 7.3 TWs. It's like, I got a lower, I got a cylinder, blah, blah, blah. Sorry.
Yeah, but I'll usually have like 4 batteries on me or whatever, because do you know anyone from Durka?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
so-
not close with them, but I know
Yeah.
Cheese and
Cheese, my boy. So we're out there for hours and hours. Like we'll go back to spawn maybe like twice in an entire on day 1 of spring offensive. Just when we're back there. So we like to sustain ourselves for quite a long time. So we will bring tons of food, tons of BBs, really everything. When it's time for nods, we'll all go down.
Sure.
We'll take our kits off. We'll rest for about 45 minutes or 30 minutes or so, and then we click on our thing and go do our thing then. But yeah, we usually just will bring that tote out there. But yeah, when I'm in the field, I'll have an Odin speed loader.
Yeah.
I have that full of BBs. I have 2 cans of SpaghettiOs, a couple extra BBs.
A can opener, or do you just go ham
Well,
with
it's one of those peel top ones.
Oh,
and then I just
fancy.
Have one of those little spoons. That's
Yeah.
probably the most disgusting part because I just reuse it.
apparently a Marine killed an insurgent with a MRE spoon.
Yeah, with his MRE
so,
spoon.
Yeah,
you never know when you whip out this spoon.
Yeah.
You're completely out of luck. Yeah, but yeah, I like to gear my kit towards the long game. Like when we're out there, we're sitting on millings for hours.
Right.
And just you get hungry at a time.
Of course.
Yeah. So
or
that's how I
rotate
like
security while other people chill and eat or
Right,
whatever.
yeah.
And those big games, especially when the field's so large, you can do that even in like let's say if you're in the woods, you just like set up a perimeter and just like hang out. It's cool stuff that you can do.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and then I love setting up perimeters. It's always fun. Did you go down to Virginia for Stonewall?
No, I did not. I wanted to, but the AO is lost, apparently. So.
Oh, well, I was talking about the previous game, the first one. The first Stonewall.
No, I wasn't there.
Oh, okay.
A bunch of my buddies went, but I wasn't there.
Yeah, no, that was a great one because we locked down a building and there's, I'm sure you heard about all the drama with like the vehicles and everything like that.
Yeah, my buddy Chris White on OGS was telling us about that, how like the rules would always change.
Yeah, Bubba kept changing the rules because his Jeep driver, he showed up with like off the lot $30,000 like beautiful decked out,
Wrangler.
Wrangler, and then every time someone shot it with something, he'd throw a huge fit, and then they'd change the rules. Like
okay, well, what were they using for AT? Like standard?
Well, they're just using they weren't shooting. Yeah, they were using standard Nerf rockets, but like
that can dent stuff too.
But like, don't bring your brand new Jeep.
Probably not.
Sorry,
okay. Do you know the Kafir 811 Connecticut people, right? What they do is they like buy the cheapest Wrangler that they can, running or not, off Craigslist for like $1,500, and then they fix it up and then replace the door with a gun hinge, and that's how you can.
That's the best way to do it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But when we were down there, so those guys, they get all cocky because they feel like they're invincible. Because I mean, to be fair, in Airsoft, if you don't have AT, vehicles are so OP. It's not even funny.
Right. This guy plays video games. He just said OP.
I still haven't seen a vehicle rule set that I completely agree with.
Yeah.
It's newish to the sport, and I feel like there's still a lot of kinks to be worked out.
Yeah.
Well, they're semi-new. I could shoot you with a BB and you'd be dead in real life, or I could shoot you with a gun in real life.
A real round, right? Yeah, because it's like, wait, does that have armor on it? No.
Right, I feel like I could see, don't shoot at the driver for safety reasons.
Sure.
But if there's somebody hanging out the front shooting a saw and you shoot him, he should be dead.
Right. I mean, fair enough. But then, then they wouldn't have any power, on the field.
Yeah.
So I remember the first Stag Ops event when we allowed vehicles. They were impenetrable because nobody had AT, and then everyone's like, "Oh man, we got wiped." Everybody buys AT. Like everybody has it. Like, absolutely everybody.
I know the last few AJ's SOs I went to is that vehicles aren't really an issue.
Right.
So.
I mean, cinematically they're cool. I think that it's kind of just growing pains of change.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Same with blank fire, which I know is another topic that we can or cannot talk about. It's still totally up to you guys. So it's just you're just adjusting how things. Because sometimes, unless you outright ban something or not allow something, change in the community is naturally going to happen. So you have to adapt as that goes.
Yeah.
Especially because a lot of these things are very you have very differing opinions about, right? Like I'm sure. Regardless of what the topic is, maybe we agree on 70% of stuff. I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Everyone's their own person.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, those are cool. And actually, that's a good point that you brought up, the blank fire. I'm interested in your opinion. It sounds like you have an opinion on it.
There's a lot of liability with it.
Yes.
I am neutral on it because it always depends on who has it, what's going on. A lot of legal liability in terms of travel. Again, it's a sporting event. There's a federal statute that protects you, even when flying, right? Just go up to the counter. I flew with airsoft guns for the first time in November. Flew with them as real firearms. They were airsoft replicas, and which is something else that we can talk about.
On the same time, we should probably touch on what the blank fire thing is.
Blank fire is utilizing real steel firearms with blank casings. It makes a bang, right? Varying different rule sets. It all depends on the environment. Some some event series like Milsim West utilize it as as not just as an aesthetic, but the ability to shoot someone.
Yeah.
But
so
then,
what is that? Kind of like an honor thing? Like, oh, he just pointed a real gun at me, and I'm like.
Last time I heard, and this may be different. Last time I heard, it was if you are within a certain distance and there's a real fire gun that's pointed at you and you pull the trigger, you're supposed to go down or you choose to. It's a big gray area, and then especially at these games that are 72 hours long, 65 hours in, you're barely human, right? You're tired, you're wet, you're stinky, you shit yourself 7 times, and especially with airsoft guns, they're incredibly inaccurate. BBs will go everywhere. They're blank fire, I think, if you have the ability to shoot someone, right, you could always still miss.
Right.
So
it's hard.
It's hard to quantify. Personally, I think that it's better utilized as an aesthetic, but in certain environments, certain situations, I think it could be used as a combative tool, like a normal airsoft
kind of tool.
Sure.
Right. I just wish simunitions were cheaper. Imagine having used simunition weapons.
Right.
God, if they were cheaper and affordable, that would be the most amazing thing in the world.
Yeah. I think locally an effective use of blank fire was actually up at Harrisfield in Maine. I went to a few games up there. CDI was one of them. I don't know if you guys know him. He's on DOS Land Pirates with Tyler Hand and whatnot. I'm sure you'd recognize him. Yeah. He does a lot of Vietnam stuff and whatnot. So he came with, I think it was an SKS, and so it was cool to hear, but he didn't really engage. He didn't, run after people with it. It was more or less just an aesthetic.
Right.
Something that you would hear.
Thematic. Right. And stuff like that.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, cool. That's very cool. Yeah.
Definitely has to make things a bit more interesting.
Yeah.
Now, one thing that I'm sure we've all done. Would you say the biggest mistake? Like, you got into a Milsim game, you think you're all prepped, and you go, damn. What's the biggest error you've made in prepping for a Milsim event in the past?
At formation in the morning, right when we're about to go out, 100% of the time, I always have to pee.
I'm right there with you. I know just what you mean.
I'm so excited, and I'm like, oh, bladder, what? No, I'm gonna ignore you. Dumb stuff. It's something different every time.
It's always something.
Oh shoot! I forgot to connect my battery. PCI. It mitigates that. Right?
Oh, I've done that.
Because you can just do PCI with your buddies, right?
Yeah.
So. Actually, James Roy, he says, you will regret ignoring his call.
I saw that, and I ignored you hardcore.
I feel like you're just trying to interrupt things here.
Yeah, and I bet you he even saw me look down and was like, you know what, screw that.
He said, I watched you ignore my call, you will regret that.
What, are you going to start a meme war with me?
Oh, God. What about you, James? What have you run into where you go, oh crap?
It's not at PCI, but this was at Breaking Bad 2. I even have it on GoPro, and this is not public. You guys will not see this. It's super embarrassing. I have everything plugged in, and there's a guy in the roof, and no one fucking sees him. And I put my gun in him, and I put what I think is 4 rounds, and I'm like, oh shit! I didn't put my mag in, and he just turns around and just puts 4 in the side of my head. I'm like, God damn it! I'm sitting there like, come on! And he just turns around and whips me. I'm like, how did I forget to put a mag in?
I did that once.
I think everybody's done that.
I think
at least
it was the worst.
So, and the funny thing is, I've done that more than once, and the reason being is because, at AJSO, Recon gets to go out that half hour early.
Right.
So my thought process is, well, I don't want to lose a mag, so I'm not even going to bother putting in my gun until game starts. Then you just get so used to walking around the gun, game starts, you're like, cool, let's go, and you set up your ambush or whatever, and you start shooting, and you go, oh, I never put that magazine.
At least you didn't die from that.
Oh no, I've died from that, don't you worry. I have to say, the error I make more often than not, unfortunately, is again being super busy, and usually it's it's like exams, projects. Cool, I'll throw everything in my car Friday night and go out Saturday, and I get there and I go, oh, I forgot water and food. I've done that a few times.
Local Walmarts.
Yeah, usually me and the person I drove up, my friend Jake, we usually just roll to the nearest Fail Mart and call the stuff we forgot. My favorite is...
It is the trip of failure.
Yeah.
and you know what's really funny? You'll always see other airsofters there at Walmart, no matter what.
Oh yeah.
Oh, what do you need? Oh, we need socks, right? Yeah. and you know what was really really cool? Going down to a few different AMS games, we always do a Walmart run because we don't want to fly with cases of water. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it doesn't make
you source locally. It doesn't matter. So walking around, in Walmart Friday night, having been to the AO but haven't met everybody yet. We're seeing people walking around with camo, and we're like, "Hey, dude, what's going on?" Like, yeah. And then this just being the South, I saw someone with camo. I'm like, "Hey, man, which faction are you on?" And he's like, Well, the South, of course. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm not going to talk to you anymore.
Pretend you didn't see me.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
And a few
that's
people,
really funny.
and a few people were open carrying in Walmart, too. And I was like, that better not be an airsofter. But different culture down there,
Well, like open carrying like an airsoft gun.
Well, right. I mean, I think it was a real steel.
Well, yeah. But like what you're saying is.
But I was saying like okay. Here's something that happened at Reindeer Games? Hold on. No, I think it was Faded Giant. Yes, it was Faded Giant. The hotel that we were staying at had this like little courtyard, in the middle. I show up after dinner. There's a bunch of kids there, full kit, full guns, hanging out.
Are you kidding me?
I'm not kidding.
Wow.
I'm not kidding. And I go up to them and I'm like, hey guys, I know this is the South, but if a picture makes its way up to New England of you guys just hanging out, in the open, I'm gonna lose airsoft up in my neck of the woods.
Right.
So unless you totally disregard me as another player and never want to see me at an event like this again, please treat every area that you go to as potentially really sensitive when it comes to airsoft guns.
Yeah.
This is when it gets good. It gets better. Okay.
Oh God.
I walk upstairs into my room. 2 minutes later, boom! A Thunderbee goes off.
Oh my.
Okay.
Wow.
I run down there and I was like, all right, someone better tell me what's going on right now. And everyone's scattering into their rooms. And I'm like, put your guns away, put your guns away, put your guns away, put your guns away. And like someone just like, I saw in one room, he just like put it on the bed. I'm like, underneath something, put it back in your gun case, whatever.
Out of sight.
The kid that let it go, he was priming it for the morning.
What?
You're prepping your gear. Just don't.
Yeah, but Thunderbee is the last thing I would prime.
And if anything, you're just weakening your spring, having it being back there, that much longer. He was very apologetic. All of them understood, that this was a big screw up. Half of them came up to me the next morning and apologized to me directly. I'm not saying that I'm Fire Marshal Bill, right? But I'm glad that I was like the adult in that kind of situation. Gets better.
Oh God!
After the bang goes off, one of the employees comes out, who I had talked to before, and he knew what we were there for and whatnot.
Okay,
we're getting there. He came out and he's like, I know y'all are safe, but what the hell is going on? I said, sir, it was just a noisemaker. I've yelled at them. I'm so sorry. He's like, hold on a second. And he runs inside. And I'm thinking, oh, great. He already called the cops. So I go in there. They already called the cops. The guy was on the phone saying, false alarm, don't show up. And I, again, explained the situation. I said, don't worry. I chewed them out. And so then I run back to all these, all the kids, right? And I'm like, okay, the police may or may not be on their way, right? No one take your guns out, just hang out, everybody be professional. The cops apparently showed up half an hour later or something like that because they have to as a quick check-in, right? Whenever there's a call, someone has to show up. That's the rules.
Actually, I've got a funny story about that today, but continue.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, that was pretty much it. I brought it to the attention of a few other people, and it is what it is. Again, these kids came up to me the next morning and were like, hey, we're really sorry. I'm like, okay, well, I'm glad I'm glad that it was an isolated incident and that I was there to say, hey, what's going on? Because I took the initiative to go up to the employee and be like, please don't call the cops. I've chewed these guys out right now. Mistakes were made.
If you weren't there for that.
What?
Imagine if you weren't there to.
Exactly. I was right time, right place.
Yeah,
right time, right place.
Perfect example of what I was talking about. With kind of, that's how you get the bad public eye.
Yes.
Oh
yes.
That was the news.
And they said, and some of these kids originally gave me lip and was like, "This is the South, man. Everybody likes guns. Like not assault rifles and plate carriers.
No one likes explosions.
No, and then also and you. No, they know they done messed up when the Thunderbee went off. And again, these kids learned. I did stupid stuff like that when I was a kid. I'm sure you guys have too.
Right, mistakes were made. Exactly.
What can I say?
It was funny because it's just returning to Thunderbee for a minute. Having seen how many Thunderbees go off in people's vests, because you prime it and it has that slow leak, and I've seen so many pouches just explode, and a very startled kid. What was your story though?
No, I was just gonna say we had someone at my house today doing work on my house, and they made a personal phone call. They tried dialing 411 for information. They called 911, and then they hung up. And so I was in my room playing video games. I had my headset on, and I just have a very frantic worker, come up to my room and be like, "I'm very sorry to bother you, but there's a police officer at the door, and I just need you to come to come to the front door so you can tell them that I haven't killed you and you're not dead in the basement." I'm like, okay. So I went down there, and the cop was like, "All right, I just need to make sure because this is the only person I've talked to, and they do not live here." And it was just so bizarre. And there was a cop at my front door.
Dude,
and
that guy was probably embarrassed.
He literally said, and he's like, when I asked him about it earlier, he's like, the cop said to him, like literally, he asked him, like, well, is that really that necessary to get the person, the eldest adult, at the time, my parents are both away.
Sure.
Is that really necessary? He's like, I don't know if you've just killed 2 people and they're dead in the basement, and you stop them from calling 911. And so he's like, okay. He was very, very panicked. So that was my afternoon.
Wow, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Great time.
That's just funny. I can only imagine.
Here's just while we're on the topic. Here's another quick gun story, or this is actually from paintball. Hold on a second. Maine, years ago, my dad's side of the family's up there, and so I was up on vacation. I was playing paintball with one of my buddies. We had permission to use the land. This was actually the landowners are actually it's the summer home of the owners of K Jewelers. So really big house, like really big yard, like 500 acres, whatever. This lady comes walking down her dog, and she's like, "You boys aren't supposed to be here." I'm like, "Well, actually, no, man, we are. We called. It's all good. Don't worry." Oh, blah blah blah. So she runs away. She calls someone that apparently is the groundskeeper that weren't aware that we had permission, and of course said, "I don't think those boys were supposed to be there." So she calls the cops saying, "There's terrorists training, blah, 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 blah." So we see a cop show up, and this is probably like 300 or 400 feet away, right? He starts walking towards us. He takes his gun out.
And you just like...
He checks his mag. He puts one in the chamber, and he puts it back in unclipped. And we're like, "Put your fucking guns down right now." So we put him down, and then 2 minutes later, had the owners on the phone. "Yes, they're supposed to be there. They're good kids, blah, 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 blah." The cop turns to the lady and was like, "Listen here, and then goes off on her, like saying, like, "Look, these kids are supposed to be here. You're being a nosy neighbor. Get out of my sight," right? And then the cop was like, "Well, man, I'm glad that I haven't dealt with her. Yeah, I don't have to deal with her anymore." Wait, is that a scope on that gun? And then we ended up like target shooting, at trees with this cop, and he's a really nice guy. But so
yeah,
public eye.
Exactly. And always have permission where you play. I'm not gonna lie, I used to be the annoying 13-year-old that play where we didn't have permission, but it's
everybody kind of starts that way. It's backyard.
Yeah, we touched on that at 13. If we could, we would scream at 13-year-old ourselves if we could.
Oh, of course. But that's just a part of growing up.
Exactly,
I'm going to be 26 in July. What about you guys?
I'm going to be 25 in a week. So.
Cool.
I'm going to be 21 in 3 weeks. Or, sorry, not 3 weeks. Sorry, 3 months.
I was like, I wish.
Slightly less clapping, but it's still exciting though.
Cool.
But yeah, like I said, it's but I mean, fortunately, the nice thing is there's way more fields and stuff around than there was 10 years ago or 8 years ago, whatever it is. There's fields galore now, so a lot easier. I mean, it still costs money, unfortunately.
Of course.
But still a lot easier. But with only 4 or 5 minutes left of the cast, I want to just once again go over the expo coming up.
While we're going over this,
right?
I'll be there.
Yeah, and while we're going over this, if anyone has any questions on YouTube or Facebook, I'm watching both. Just ask us a question, ask Fry. Yeah,
just let us know. But yeah, like I said, we got the we always start and end the stream with this. We have the expo coming up, and again, a little less than 2 weeks. It's on Sunday. Just worth mentioning is don't show up on Saturday expecting the expo to be there because
you can still come play.
Sunday. Yeah,
that day,
feel free.
Right. You can go to the same room and buy vegetables from the local farmer market.
Airsoft guns are cooler than vegetables, at least in my book.
Right. I'd much rather eat airsoft guns than vegetables.
But yeah, it's gonna be great for me. Any new vendors confirmed this week?
Z-Shot is still playing around.
Is Wallace coming or John Blewett?
John is
Blewett?
very interested in coming. He just needs to find one more employee to show up, but he is very interested in showing up.
Awesome, yeah, he's a good dude. I've known him since Amped days.
He's great. We knew him. I met him when he was with G&G for a while.
Yep, G&G. Yep. Right.
But so any other stores or fields?
Nothing yet. I need to contact Dai again. He was very interested.
All right, cool.
But nothing as of right. Actually, well, I did talk to Taggin. Taggin said, he'd asked his bosses, but the guy from Taggin, I let him know about it. Granted, it was last week because I didn't figure they'd do that. He's like, oh, actually, yeah, my boss actually wants me to go do stuff like that. So
awesome.
I'm gonna follow up on that probably tomorrow.
Awesome.
I'll work from home.
Have the Enola Gay folks reached out to you yet?
I reached out to them and they're gonna send some swag for the raffle, but they can't show up for that.
Oh shoot. Okay, yeah, because someone approached me about it too, and I was like, well, I haven't talked to them, right? But no, that's cool. They're sending some swag. So because sometimes it's hard to go to everything. And
and then that's why Elite Force and Vulcan can't show up because they can only go to one a year. And last year, at least at the same location.
Right. I got you. Yeah, I know Nigel, and he's a good dude. So who's your rep then for?
Cliff.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cliff,
we got the national sales manager.
Whoa,
he's our boy.
Whoa.
I call him my drug dealer because his products just sell so fast. So every time I email him, I'm like, "Hey Cliff, I need some more drugs."
Nice. Yeah, so are you full time here too?
No, I'm part time. I work as many hours as I can.
Right.
But I'm doing mechanical engineering for my degree.
Gotcha.
So I try my best to my main. Even though I am the general manager, but my main focus is making sure that this store is stocked up with everything that people need.
We have Danielle, one of the owners here. She's here full time, and just to make sure that ship floats well. And nice. And she's great.
We're making it work though.
Very good. Yeah. Well, I mean, and we had talked about this right before the before we went live.
I was going to bring this up.
When you become more involved in the community, whether that's on the business side or the event running side or whatever.
You get to play a hell of a lot less.
Yes, you play a lot less, and that's.
Oh, you had to bring it up.
Yeah, and that gets annoying, especially like indoors. I used to play all the time at the Citadel. Specifically indoors, I actually like to administer games more than I do like play sometimes. So actually, I volunteer my time every once in a while and go out to Building 52 in Chicopee to run some games there, and that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, exactly, and it's the same thing as before working here. I used to play almost twice a month, like year round, twice a month. It was great. And
biannual game. Here we go.
I play for the last couple of years. I think I've done Autumn Justice, Spring Offensive, and that's it. Yeah. I have time of my life when I'm there.
Gotcha.
But God, I wish.
Actually, on the topic, there was a Facebook question. This was earlier in the stream, but I'll bring it up now. Someone asked, "What games are you going to go to this year?"
Oof. Well, I'd love to go to all the AMS games because, again, I like their mentality. I like a lot of the people there, and it's something fresh and new. And then I think a really good fusion of hardcore milsim and then, hey, bro, how's it going? Kind of, a good fusion.
You're there to have fun, kind of.
Right. But then there's a lot of structure and whatnot. So best of both worlds. I bought my ticket for Op 34, which is about an hour south of Chicago, Illinois. That's late.
Cool. Nice.
That's late April. I'm probably going to Copperhead in I think it's New Mexico or Nevada.
I wish I could get out that often.
I am going to lose 30 pounds by sweating when I'm out there. I mean, obviously, I'm doing Spring Offensive coming up. I'm on staff, so we do role playing. We're red team. We do that. I mean, I'll be there next weekend for MSAT, for that MSATO game. It's a great AO, and it's always up in the air about when it's going to sell. Whenever I talk to Tom, I'm like, all right, how many games are we actually getting? And his answer is, well, until we get official word that the property is sold. Cool. That's all you can do.
Buy an open airsoft field.
Yeah.
Right. All right. Just give me $50,000 and like no bills.
Right.
That's fine.
I wish. God.
That's fine.
Let's see. Actually, Charles Burke, a good customer of ours, he asked a question for the three of us. What is one TV, movie, video game weapon that you would like to see as an airsoft gun? Could be real, or it could be something totally makeshift.
So I'll start that because I have a favorite. Is something I've actually done preliminary work into designing. I've discussed this with you. Is a affordable version of a fully automatic grenade launcher, just because it would be amazing. And I have some preliminary designs where you would run off HPA and not, you wouldn't have $80 shells going at a few times a second.
Fully automatic tag-ins.
The Archangels will soon be available in the States, actually.
Oh, really? Cool.
Yeah.
I think the exclusive distributor is Extreme. The other Extreme.
Yeah, that's funny. It's always
right.
Actually, we have Dan from Extreme Airsoft here, and it's Dan from Extreme Airsoft there.
That's funny.
So I always make sure I have him call. He's like, "Hi, this is Dan from Extreme Airsoft. I'm wondering if I can get Dan from Extreme Airsoft on the board real quick."
That's great.
That's amazing.
That's so great.
Yeah. But yeah, like I said, I have preliminary designs where it uses I have a 3D printer. It's very useful.
Yeah.
Where it uses a shell that just holds BBs, and then you use a solenoid to open a valve that just pushes a shot of air behind it.
Sure.
No barrel, just literally just like shotgun style, or you could put like a Nerf rocket on a belt.
Right.
They're just on belt. And you have these cheap shells.
Yeah.
And you don't have to worry about $80 shells you're shooting at.
Right.
A few times a second.
Yeah, it's just like a physical holder.
Right, exactly. And then just make it big and heavy so it's not the most overpowered weapon in the universe. I'm at like 3,000 rounds a second.
Sure. Yeah.
But that's my personal what I want to see made or make myself. What about you?
The energy sword from Halo. I don't know. I'm not as much of a gear and gun whore.
Fair enough.
I'm not a crazy gun collector. I started with an M4 platform, tried a G36 to see if that, and then reverted back to it's muscle memory. I utilize it. I have real steel ARs.
Exactly.
It's such a good platform.
Yeah, we've talked about how you go away from the M4 and you go, oh wait, no, that's actually
right. Because it's like I need a mag. I got a G36 weird thing. Like it doesn't. It just from mag, sharing capability. But then with all the different weights, you got 2 5s. I need 3 O's. I need 3 2s. Whatever.
Yeah.
They even have 2 7s and 2 3s and whatever.
I run 2 8s, 2 9s, and 3 O's, and that's it.
Fair enough.
But to wrap it up.
Yeah, it's actually mine was a Halo gun too. The pistol from Halo. I forget the name of it.
I think it's happened. Really? I've seen it online. Yeah.
Oh, cool. So then I guess that's.
Well, no. I'm sorry. It was a prototype. It's not in development. Like it's not like someone just like I don't know. Maybe it looked like a Nerf thing. They just put it over an airsoft gun.
Yeah, that would be cool.
It's not. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry. It's not developed. It's not mainstream. Just someone made it.
Oh, that's cool. That would be a cool little thing. It's very, very niche market. That. And also, Robin Unegard says, "Hey David, let's make a Viking invasion happen again." Mookie face.
Oh yeah. No, those are my buddies from Sweden.
Yeah, you got that Sweden name. That's cool.
Hold on. I need to meet the boss.
But like I said, with that, we are out of time today. So thank you all for tuning in and watching. And again, look in the description for links to the expo, Facebook page, YouTube. Obviously, if you're on YouTube, you obviously already know we're here. Either way, like I said,
watching from YouTube. Wait, you guys are on YouTube.
We'll see you guys next week, and hopefully at the expo in a couple weeks. But yeah, have a great day, guys.
Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Bye.